Okay, guys. Hey, I am Cody Robinson with HomeFit. I have the privilege and true honor to spend some time with Susan Wood today with PT in Motion. How are you, Susan?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since HomeFit has had the opportunity to do like these well talks. Obviously, it's been a crazy year and a half. And so, you and I met, I guess, probably a couple of months ago. We've started building just I feel like a great, business relationship. We've started kind of, sharing clients back and forth. And I mean, you're just a phenomenal person to be around. You love
Thank
people. You're passionate about what you do. So we just wanted to take some time to get you in front of more people and share your story and actually, tell a little bit more about kind of your approach to physical therapy. But before I get too carried away, everybody that knows me, I'm a little long-winded, so I'll stop it there. But like, if you want, like, tell us a little bit about yourself. Okay, you're good.
I lost my microphone.
Yeah, you're good. Happens all the time. But yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself, just whatever form or fashion you'd like to do it in.
Sure. Well, again, thank you so much for having me here, Cody. I would definitely say it's been a great relationship so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing how our partnership can grow moving forward.
Yeah.
So I am originally from Cincinnati, grew up really active, played sports, got into triathlons and marathons for a while. I've always been really interested in the body. So led me to pursue physical therapy as my career. And we moved down to Nashville about 3 years ago, and I opened up physical therapy in motion this year. So it's been a really fun time doing that.
No, yeah, it's awesome. I love, I just, I think we know like several people that are going to you and building that relationship and that service. So can you hear anything in the background right now? Or is it not too bad? Okay, good. Perfect. Because I'm heavily distracted by sound.
Okay.
All right. So one of the things, and we spent some time talking about this before, we went live, but I think one thing that continues to surprise me is like the evolution of physical therapy. I think there's so many people that still kind of think back to the old way of going, like you go and put heat and ice on it. You're going to go through some traction.
Yeah.
You got to go 3 days a week for like 12 months, but only until your insurance coverage runs out, because that's logical. But like for you though, you see things totally different, because one, you want to empower people with the method that you use. And again, you're the expert on this, but like, let's see, I mean, so as trainers and exercise physiologists, sometimes we know a decent amount about what's called the McKenzie method, but just a fraction. But you have a lot more training in it. But if you want, like, go ahead and kind of expound on McKenzie and then how you fell in love with it and why you fell in love with it.
Yeah, well, I'll kind of just let you know what led me to pursue kind of mastering this material. So when I was working in Syracuse, New York, it's a lot more widely practiced up there, mainly because one of their instructors actually is based in Syracuse. Fun fact, he lived, his clinic was a mile from our first apartment there. So just happened to be the case. Cool. I was able to take a free course through work. And I pretty much after that course, like the trajectory of my career had changed, because it seems really obvious, like, of course, you're going to be helping people while they're in your clinic, but I had never seen people change so quickly in front of my eyes. So one unique thing about their method is on their courses, they teach live patients. So nothing is staged. And so I'd never seen a patient change based on what the therapist was having them do at different movements or positions. Anytime I would see a change, it would always be me doing the work on them, or it'd be a long time. Whereas here, you could get like a 60-70% improvement in 10 minutes. And like pretty much after that, I was like, all right, I'm all in and I got to learn. So that's what led me to the McKenzie method. What is it? So it is an assessment process. We ask really strategic questions to kind of understand the behavior and the nature of your pain. And from those questions, then we actually kind of have a little hypothesis in our head of, hey, what might be going on here? But then we start to move your body. And that's where you really start to know, hey, this is actually what's causing your pain, okay? So we take you through lots of different movements, and based on how you respond to that, we're able to categorize your pain. So it's like one of the only systems that really categorizes and says, like, you responded this way, so you have mechanical pain. And we'll talk a lot more about that, but that's the biggest, like the most common area of pain that I see in the clinic. And so it's meant to be all inclusive. It's meant to treat people who are having back pain, neck pain. I sprained an ankle. I have spinal stenosis, which sometimes doesn't behave like spinal stenosis. It behaves like mechanical pain. Rotator cuffs, anything. It's meant to be all encompassing, and we can kind of work through if you are a good candidate for the mechanical part of the treatment. Two more things on it. It focuses on empowering patients, like giving them the tools, which is the coolest part. We teach you not only how to get yourself feeling better, but then how to prevent it from coming back. Or, hey, I like garden for 8 hours over the weekend, and I feel like some of my symptoms are coming back. What do I do? So it really teaches the patient how to treat themselves for life.
Yeah, I know we're going to jump into some kind of stories about it here in a minute, which is really mind blowing. But I mean, it's crazy because like the first time you told it to me, and it makes sense to me now, but like, so I mean, you're telling me like it doesn't necessarily require weeks and weeks of visits, right? I mean, there's people. I mean, we were at the networking group Tuesday, and the gentleman sitting next to you, like he had to give you a big shout out because he was like. I told her what was going on. She, mechanically told me what exercise wise to do. And like, it was almost like immediate for him. Not to jump ahead, but I just, the fact that those things are, that you can really empower people to that point. So, I mean, anything else you want to share on that, or you want to kind of shift into the mechanical pain, whatever?
Yeah. So, like to your point, it can happen quickly. And that's what's the coolest part about it. And I never know what the answer is. So like, and somebody says, hey, what's wrong with, like, I'm having pain here. What do I do? It's like, I don't know yet until we move you.
Right.
But so what they found, like I said, there's these kind of subcategories of pain, and mechanical is a huge part of it. So that's upwards of like 70 to 75% of people can have mechanical pain. And as long as we can find so a lot of times when you have mechanical pain, when you feel bad, you don't move as well, right? So you almost feel like jammed or like stuck, like my back is hurting. I can't stand up as straight as I normally can, or I can't move as easily.
Right.
So if something can make you bad, like if a movement or a posture can make you bad, it's my job to kind of help you figure out what makes you better and what do you need to do to create a good healing environment for whatever is going on with you. And if we find that, most of the time, within 2 weeks, you can be 70 to 90% better. I mean, it can happen that fast. And within like your treatment session, somebody could have a movement that's really painful, and by the time they leave, it could be 80% better. So it's fun stuff.
No, it's super cool. I mean, I think we were talking about a little bit before how with a lot of our clients who are just busy professionals in general, we tend to train more specific to quality of life, but we try to do our best to look at things from what some may call like an ergonomic approach, like what goes on in your daily lifestyle. Like, but a lot of times people from an ergonomic standpoint, they'll come in and they're looking at it like, what does your job like require you to do, and to stand or sit? But what I love is you go through the whole course of a day with somebody. Like you spoke, you were telling me about the one example, again, not to go off topic a little bit or jump ahead, but I mean, you were telling me about the one lady who was really struggling with, was it sleeping well, or she, you know, she's
her
waking up.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and but you identified. I'll let you tell the story if you want,
Sure.
but like the fact that you identified just how she sat on the couch and like little things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a patient who was doing really well. She was like, "Hey, I'm 90% better, but every morning I'm waking up stiff." And like with how she had been progressing, it just shouldn't have been the case. And I'm like, okay, we've got to talk about what are you doing at night before you go to bed, and what are you doing, like what position do you sleep in? And so interestingly, we kind of realized that she was sitting on the couch in a really bad position, working on her computer for upwards of 4 hours. And then she was a side sleeper, and she's sleeping like, you know, kind of curled up. And so that's like almost, she sleeps 8 hours a night. And so it could be potentially almost half of her day where she's doing something. And it may not be irritating at the time, but it's enough time that when she wakes up in the morning, she's really stiff. So we made a pact that she was only allowed a very small percentage of her time to be slouchy at night before she would go to bed, because that was kind of important to her. So I said, all right, you get 15 to 20 minutes an hour. And if that is not going to like turn the needle, we're going to have to be even more stringent. Well, it was enough. And she said like immediately her morning started to get better. So, so a lot of what I do is kind of help you problem solve those areas that are still causing you issues. Like, we can identify like, hey, this movement really, really helps you. But then what is happening throughout your day that's trashing what we did? It's like literally making it worse. And so pretty much every patient I have to do that with. There's some tweak, there's something that is like holding them back, and we have to like figure out what part of your daily life is affecting this. And once we make that change, you know, things really start to get exciting, and we start to kind of trend towards not focusing on pain, but focusing on what do you want to do and how do we make sure this doesn't come back? Like, what do you want to get back to doing without pain?
Yeah, all this makes me think about when I got in deeper into what we do in the industry, and people used to ask me like, does it not ever get boring doing the same thing kind of over and over? And it's like, it's never boring, because every person is different, every lifestyle is different, and every scenario is different. I'd be afraid.
All their own puzzle.
Right, which makes it fun, because you're really trying to cater it to the individual. I'd be afraid to run through all the positions that I sit and stand and whatever in, but I'll let you give me a critique. But I know I like that you would hold me to it though. You're just like, if you want to feel better, you've got to do this. Like,
you know, I think it's kind of a little tangent of mine. I think sometimes we want quick fixes, and we want fixes that don't require much work on our part. So like a lot of times I can offer a quick fix because we can find something that helps you, but you kind of have to implement it throughout your day, because again, you're going to trash it. You're going to do things that irritate it. And once you get past that point of like, I've done it enough, it stays good. I mean, it is really cool to see people come in and like, they go from like, nobody likes pain. Everybody hates it, right? That's why they're coming to me. So their affect changes significantly from like the moment I meet them to like when they're done with therapy. That's the coolest part. And I'm jumping ahead too. That's probably my favorite part about treating, is that I get to see people kind of transform their life, and their self-efficacy and their ability to feel like I can control this is just like skyrocketed. There's no longer anxiety of like, oh, I'm a little tight, what do I do? It's like, okay, I know what to do. I've seen this before. It's happened. I know I can get rid of this quickly. And so that's I guess I got off on that little tangent of being like, we all want quick fixes, but it's a quick fix, but you gotta do some work. You gotta work on your posture, you know, do some strategic targeted exercises to really move the needle on it.
What I love about it, because you have we got a degree in public health as well, specifically in health behavior, and of course, the most applicable model, I guess, for behavior change across most elements of health and wellness is self-efficacy. And I think that what's cool is like the fact that you not only go about it of like, you've got to do it in order to like continue improving. Because like I like how you say you're going to trash it throughout the day. Something's going to happen. Yeah. But by doing it, I mean, just like anything consistently, like their efficacy is going to get better and better. So I forgot that we had talked about that before and got really nerdy on that, because that's where empowerment comes from.
Yeah. I mean, like your anxiety just continues to climb if you don't have an action plan, right? And when you have your action plan, it just like totally allows that anxiety to calm down, and you're in the driver's seat, you know, not that situation or not that pain that you have. You now have your own tool set. So that's
no, it's not. No, you're good. No, I love it. No, you're perfect. I was trying to see if there's anything else on. So give us a few examples of mechanical pain that you've seen in your practice. I think we've covered some of that, wouldn't you say? Somewhat. Do you want to jump into like, because the fact that you actually use the word rapid responder blows my mind when it comes to when I think of therapy. And you said there's certain like specific indicators. I'll let you kind of expound on it, but it's cool that you can see somebody and be like, oh, we're going to be able to fix you like real fast.
Yeah. So kind of like I was mentioning, you know, when we are able to find something that starts to rapidly improve your symptoms, typically your movement will start to improve as well. Okay. And like I said, we can get, you know, 70-90% better within a few weeks. And so there's a couple signs that you are a really good candidate and you might have rapidly reversible pain. So the biggest is that your symptoms are affected by movement and postures. So, you know, my back hurts when I sit for a really long period of time, and I go to get up and I don't feel like I have good flexibility, and it takes me a little bit to walk it off. That's mechanical pain. Like that's the perfect example of mechanical pain. Or like if you're sticking with the back example, I just gardened and bent over for 4 hours in a row. I'm stiff and tight. That's mechanical pain. It was all the bending that turned on that discomfort. Okay. So if your symptoms change depending on your movement or posture, you are a really good candidate. Variability is actually a really great sign. So some days are good, some days are bad. Some days I can move my arm up really well, some days I can't.
Yeah.
That is a huge indicator that your pain can change rapidly. The biggest sign though is that when your movement, or when you feel worse, your movement changes, and it changes for the worse. So on a bad day, you can lift your arm to here, or you can turn your head to here, but on a good day, you can turn your head here and you can bring it up here. That is the biggest indicator. That variability and that change in your movement, the mechanics, is an excellent sign that you can rapidly reverse your pain. And then just recurrent pain, like episodes, you know, like, hey, it's here, then it goes away naturally. It's here, then it goes naturally. Those are all typically mechanical pain. So those are the biggies.
Yeah. So as we're, and again, because we said in a minute, we'll probably go down through some different stories, but as we're talking about the mechanical pain aspect and the actual indicators, do you want to talk about the lady that you recently?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would be a perfect time to throw her in.
Yeah. So this is kind of a classic example of how we need to really make sure that there's nothing going on with our spine when it comes to our extremities. So one kind of big misconception is that, oh, my elbow hurts, it's got to be my elbow that's bothering me. They've actually come out with evidence in 2019 to say that there's like a 42% chance that if you have just pure shoulder pain or just knee pain, something like anything that's extremity related could have some spinal component to it. So that segues me into the story. About a year ago, I saw a patient. She had been in a car accident. And she came to me and said, like, I can't move my arm. Like, it's to here, it's painful, it was weak. I mean, it looked exactly like a rotator cuff tear, right? Like, she can't use her arm anymore. So I got the clearance and said, hey, can we screen your spine just to be absolutely sure that nothing's going on there? She's like, yeah, I haven't had any stiffness in my neck. I'm like, perfect, no problem. This would take just a few minutes. So we're almost done with the screening. I have her do one other really big movement for like her neck and her upper back. And I kid you not, her arm started to move up like 20, 30 degrees more. And we both were like, whoa, that's cool, right? Like, I was not anticipating that at all. So I'm like, hey, let's do another round. That was cool. So she does it again, and she's almost to her other side. And we were both floored. I was like, go home and do that. And that's all I want you to do for now.
Yeah.
She comes back 2 days later. She's like, I'm 95% better, and never had to see her again. We never touched her shoulder. We never did anything with it. And all of her symptoms were resolved. So I got lots of examples of, I'll show you a couple more of just some really funky things that you find as you start to evaluate this way, and you're like, whoa, I can't believe that happened. I had a gentleman who was having knee pain, and he's really active, and he's like, I can't play the sports I want to play. So he's like, I can't squat the way I want to squat, I can't kick the ball, like he's all these things. And I was like, okay, let's take a look at your knee. Well, his knee had a little stiffness to it. It looked like a knee. He had some issues with squatting. And I was like, hey, any issues with your back at all? He's like, no, a little COVID tightness. You know, I've been sitting a lot more than normal. I'm like, well, I highly doubt there's any issue here, but can we screen your spine? Sure, no problem. So we screen it, and he's like, huh, I can squat better. Now I can kick this ball better. I was like, all right, let's do it again. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is it, or if we may have two problems here. So he does another round, and we even progress it further of the stretching, and he comes back, and the crazy thing is, like, the tightness that was in his joint. So like, I moved his joint and it was tight. That literally resolved. We never touched his knee. And he came for 2 visits too, and was like, I'm 95% better. I think I know I'm gonna like finish this out. And I spoke with him recently, and it's been a few months, and he's like, I've not had a problem since, and we never touched his knee. So just like funky stuff like that. It's really cool. It can mimic, it looks exactly like that joint is the problem. And until you kind of dive deeper, you just don't know.
No, I fully agree. You know, I think I mentioned my wife. So, you know, she, her training and background is in sports medicine from an athletic training standpoint. And she's so funny. And she'll call me out all the time. So I'll be like, this hurts. And I was like, you know, like last night, I was like, my ankle really hurt. She was like, she just started talking about the calf and everything. You always think it's directly that joint when it's usually something.
It can be. And that's what, like you said, it never gets boring. It never gets boring because you find these things and you're like, mind blown. How did that just happen? You know, I mean, our body is like incredible at healing itself when we provide a good environment, you know, like you said, ankle. I had a funky foot once. This person came in, random foot pain. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with this lady. I give her foot stuff. I should have screened her spine better. I didn't screen it as well as I should have. She comes back, she's like, I'm worse. I'm like, worse? I didn't even barely do anything with you. Come to find out, I was putting her spine in a bad position with the stretching I gave her, and it jacked her up worse. And so I was like, listen, can we dive deeper in that? And it was her back causing her literally just foot pain. Wow. It was crazy. So it's fun.
No, I would say, no, I love these stories, and I'm glad because we have good time to be able to expound on these. And but I was just thinking about, I think you're making a good point too about how, you know, there's this traditional, you know, method of like, you think you're just going to go, they're going to do their active and passive, you know, treatments, physical therapy on you, and then you're just going to eventually get better. But again, where I love is that you come into it as a team approach. You're just like, because like you said, not every time, it's not always going to be a perfect fix immediately.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
like,
We don't know. Yeah.
yeah. And you, so like the dialogue to be able to dive much deeper, you know, only informs you more. So I think that's key too, when it comes to that type of relationship, even if it's for a short period of time, you know, that you can really work together with them and get that feedback and be like, all right, we need to continue adjusting. So I think that says a lot about you, your personality, your approach, is because it's like, we're in this together. And I think also, and just kind of going back to the behavioral side of things, the fact that you lead into it with like, let's go about this together, already starts that like ability to empower people, because it's making them be a part of the process, not just be what you're working on. Like, you're a part of the entire process. I don't know if that triggers any more thoughts, but like, it just, that sticks out to me.
Yeah, no. When I meet somebody and we work together, it is like a true teamwork. I cannot help you unless you like implement what we've learned together at home. And then you come back with another piece of information. And then from there, we move forward. And so it's really fun to kind of meet somebody where they're at and like figure out, these are your triggers. These are like this. You can't walk up the stairs anymore right now. Like, I just had a conversation with a patient this morning, like, you know, I'm doing better walking, but I still can't get up and down the stairs. Well, we had a conversation like, the downward is a lot harder force on your ankle, you know, like just kind of allowing them to know where their expectations should be, and like kind of really honing in on like, what is the most precious thing for you to achieve here? Like, what do you want to get back to doing? And like, it's so much fun to like meet somebody, like to help somebody meet those goals. We talked a little bit about like a gal who I just cleared to run, who hadn't ran in, you know, 5 or 6 years from back and hip pain. And she, like within 5 visits, we got her back and ready to run. And she said to me, like when we were doing some pre-running exercises, like, I cannot believe I'm not hurting, because this would automatically like light me up and keep me lit up, you know, afterwards. And so it's so much fun to kind of show people that like, we don't have to set limits on ourselves, you know, like when somebody comes and says like, this is my goal, I haven't done it in 10 years. I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. I don't want to put limits on your ability to improve. You know, I don't want them to have like expectations that aren't realistic, but you know, for this gal, I was like, let's see where we get, you know, and she got to the point where we're ready. And so it's just really fun to like dive into what they're super passionate about, because once they find that this is their big goal, like they don't care that their motion's better, they care that they're out of pain and now they can throw a football with their son, you know. Those are the things that I love helping them with. Yeah.
No, and I know they continue. Even in the last few weeks, because you had good examples leading into our conversations, but like, it's just like on the daily now, you know, it's just, you're getting more and more, which is just speaks to the need of what you do, your approach, and then how you approach it, which to me, again, I feel like this is, I don't know if I would classify it as unique, but I think it's unique because there's just so many components, you know, that go into it. Let's see, I'm just looking at our points here. Have we covered the misconceptions yet? I don't know if we've hit those. The misconceptions about
part, I'd say like, you know, we talked about like spine can be really deceiving.
Right.
Just a couple little pointers, you know, and I mentioned this with my patient who hadn't ran in years, like just because you've had something for a long time does not mean you can't get better. If you have not like had a good mechanical evaluation, sometimes you have no idea that your body can feel as good as it can. And those are my favorites. It's like somebody will come in and they're like, I've had pain for 10 years, but it got so bad that finally I'm in here and like, whatever. I have so much arthritis, like the doctor says it's the worst. And you're like, congratulations. Like, who wants to be the worst, right?
Right.
But it's like a prideful thing, right? So like, hey, well, let's see where we're at. And like, I specifically remember this gentleman who like, he almost was like mad that he was like, I'm gonna be like this forever. So neck and back pain. So I'm like, perfect, right? And there's a lot of stuff that goes on with those two diagnoses. So he like, we start to find things that start to help him feel better. And he's like, I can't believe that I'm actually doing better than I have in, I don't know, 10 years. And I'm like, yeah, you've never like provided a good environment for your body to heal, you know? And like, he was just hoping to like not be in thriving pain every day and be like, I have a raging headache, I can't move, and, you know, feeling miserable. But he was actually like, I actually was able to like lift stuff up the stairs and it didn't bother me the next day. I stretched right after and I was fine. Like, I'm not used to that, you know? So people can make really good improvements. So I would say, don't discredit yourself. Your body is really good at healing for the most part.
Yeah.
And then
I think, oh, go ahead. No, go.
Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking it's funny because we were thinking about, or we talked a good bit about just different approaches to pain management and just how some therapy, some approach is so repetitive, you know, and like even on the fix. And it's so funny because I can see it in your face every time. You're just like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Cause like, if you let me take a look at it, like my job, you know, is to like show you that you don't have to keep going back to the same old thing.
Right.
I think you and I were laughing about our philosophies are very similar, you know. I mean, sure, there's going to be people that stay around because they love the relationship, the accountability that's there, you know, to stick to it. But then but it's almost like we're always trying to work to put ourselves out of business technically, because we're like, if you come 2 times and you're good, like
you're good.
Great.
I would much rather see somebody 5 visits and then say, hey, I got a lot better with that approach. And it was really all encompassing. And I was given really simple and practical exercises that made a tangible difference right away. Then have somebody for 5 months and we're kind of doing the same stuff over and over. So, you know, the cool thing is a lot of times we start in one place because that's where your body's at. And then we gradually progress. And sometimes it could look kind of similar, but we progress maybe force or reps, or there's a little bit tweaks. And those small tweaks is what moves the needle from you being 70% better to 100% better. And so, you know, every appointment I have is really strategic. Like hey, what do we need to cover this time? And like, do we need to progress you more so that you're meeting those goals? And so that's why, like, most of my patients come for like 4 to 8 visits. Most of them right in the middle, like 5 or 6. And we're talking like starting from feeling like trash to, hey, I know how to manage this on my own. And I feel like I can treat myself now if it comes back. So, so we cover a lot with a short amount of time and try to be really strategic about what we give them. Yeah,
no, I love it. Let's, like I said, I mean, we could go a couple more minutes. I'm just trying to think, I know there's probably hundreds for you at this time, but is there any more? Is there a few more examples you want to kind of
highlight?
Case examples, because they just get better and better every time I ask you this question.
So like another, just to kind of like highlight different parts of your body, like a good example of mechanical pain in a knee is somebody who like they may feel like they get stiff in their knee if they've been sitting for a while. I mentioned that before, but or like they have trouble going up and down stairs or trouble squatting. I'm treating a gentleman right now who fell, and so as a result of this fall, he was limping and he couldn't bend his knee all the way or straighten it all the way. And so, you know, when somebody has something like a trauma, like at first we're thinking, well, is this a trauma response or is this a mechanical response? And we don't know that until we start moving him. And so we were able to realize, like, figure out, like, when we gave him a stretch to his knee, like we started to extend his knee and put a little pressure through the bottom of his thigh, his walk got better, his squat got better, and his motion got better. So it's been 2 weeks. I saw him this week, and he's like, hey, I tested out pickleball. I'm like, hey, cool, that's great. He's like, I didn't run, I just let things go, but I didn't have any pain. I was like, thanks for testing that out. Let's go make you move more. Let's go try out some pickleball moves. Let's try out some shuffling. And in 2 weeks, he's 90% better. Just a little bit of pain with like some running forward, but his movement is like almost symmetrical to the other side, and his walk is, he said it's pretty well back to normal. So, you know, that's just a great example of, as he started to do, and he was only given like one exercise every time he came in that he had to work on for his knee. This is the one thing you do for your knee.
Yeah.
And just that one extra, we progressed it, but it was the one thing, and like he's 90% better in 2 weeks. So it's really cool, fun stuff.
Yeah, I was trying to see if anybody had asked any questions online, but we can keep a close eye on it too, because this will stay on our Facebook page, and you know, so I'll let you know if anybody asks any kind of, because I know it's going to spark some thoughts. What about? So I think you mentioned to her about clearing her for running, but we didn't talk about the lady, about just her airplane travel, the fact that you went through that whole process.
So kind of the reason why she came to me in the first place, it wasn't really because she wanted to get back at running. That was just like a bonus, I think, for her. It was because she had like an 18-hour international flight in a week and a half, and she's like, I cannot handle sitting. Like, it just totally dominates my back. And every morning I wake up and I can't stand up straight for like a half an hour. But she's a super active lady and does stuff all day long, and she's okay. So I'm like, all right, well, you didn't give me much time, but we'll see what we can do here. So we find out pretty quickly, hey, like, you're really locked and jammed in this one particular motion in your back. You can't really bend backwards. So she started stretching her back out. And she said the next time she came in, she's like, the next morning I was able to stand up straight from the get-go. She had no issues with her like morning routine. And so I saw her a couple times before her flight. We came up with like this really strategic plan. Like, this is what you got to do, you know, stay on this. And she came back and said, like, I didn't have any pain on my flight. And in fact, her husband was the one who was having trouble. She's trying to convince him now to come to me, because he's kind of in that contemplative stage where like, maybe, I don't know, not quite ready to like dive into it. But she was like ecstatic that she could do that flight, because she wanted to enjoy her vacation. And, you know, with like her knowledge of like, I know that this is going to be a super big irritant, and I'm going to be uncomfortable my whole trip if I don't get this fixed. So it was cool to come up with a good strategy for her. And then I guess the added bonus is she comes back from her vacations like, I'm doing pretty good. I had a little bit of stiffness, but like I was on these Jeeps that were bumping up and down and like doing a safari. So it was pretty incredible. And she's like, I would expect for me to have some stiffness. And like a week and a half later, I say, hey, try out the running, you know? So it was a really fun, cool, improvement that I got to see. So.
Yeah. And to be so proactive about something like that, you know, knowing what's going into it and giving advice. Yeah. And if he's in the contemplation stage, you know, according to the theory, you'll probably see him within 6 months. So.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
So let me know if that proves itself.
It will, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, so we can kind of start wrapping up a little bit, but is there anything else before I talk about, you know, what does it look like kind of at your clinic? Is there anything that we missed or anything that you, because we covered a lot.
Yeah, we did. No, I don't think so. I think that just the big takeaway is like, you know, a lot of us struggle with pain and like not feeling like they can move well. And a lot of people can do so well if they're given like a good opportunity to heal. And it does not usually require this big plethora of exercises. It requires that we understand, like, why are you hurting? And that's what I get to teach people. It's like, why are you hurting? And what is keeping you from like being able to tolerate your sitting, being able to tolerate running, all those different activities that you feel really limited by. And so I would just say, like, I always offer like a 15-minute consultation. If you ever have questions, like, I can usually tell within that short amount of time whether you're going to be somebody who responds really quickly, and you just don't have to suffer in pain. That's the biggest takeaway.
Oh, that's awesome. No. So what is the treatment? I mean, again, a lot of this stuff is kind of reiterate, but like I said, to kind of close out, but what does treatment look like at your clinic?
Sure. So I have a clinic off of Cool Springs Boulevard in Franklin. So I do in person. I also do virtual visits. They're all about an hour. And we really just try to dive deep, like I said, like figuring out your problems, taking you through different movements, and coming up with like, what is the biggest thing you need to work on right now to start to feel better. Most people will leave with 1 or 2 exercises. Now we'll gradually kind of sprinkle in function, and those are not your primary, like, this gets rid of your pain stuff. It's like, hey, I want to get back to doing this. So can you start me on squatting? Yeah, sure. Let's try it and see how you do. But so it's really targeted exercises as to like what your body needs to feel better. And everybody's a little bit different, and that's the cool thing, is that the system allows you to, I always say, like, I love a system because it helps me organize information. And so, like, when things are moving right along smoothly, it's real easy. Hey, I've seen this before, blah, 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 easy. But when things aren't going well, it tells you when to take a right turn, when you need to take a right turn. And your body tells us too. And so as long as we listen to what's going on with your body, it usually tells us what it needs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Again, just the fact that you walk in and just approach it together, I think is key. I think that also helps people who are kind of concerned, because there are plenty of people that wait until it's unbearable.
Yeah.
When they don't have to. They just go and talk to you. Obviously, clearly, that's again why I love doing these things, because it lets people know really who you are. It gets to get to know your nature as well, and just have that rapport and that connection. But what about connecting with you? Like, how can they find you? And then, what's the best way to connect, like for a consult or whatever?
Sure. So you could visit my website, pt-inmotion.com. I don't know if it's okay if we put like some of the contact information.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll put it in there. So it's pt-inmotion.com. You can also give me a call or text at 615-905-1954. You can find me on Facebook at PT in Motion TN, Facebook and Instagram. And usually I start out with a conversation to see, like, what is it, what do you want to accomplish and what's going on here? Is this going to be a good fit? So that's how you get a hold of me.
That's awesome. No, thank you so much for your time. I mean, I think when we first sat down, there were so many avenues that we could go. We even talked about, do we just want to talk about low back pain? And I'm like, no, we just need for people to understand your method, and expound from there. And then if anybody that's watching this now or later, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. We may break this up into some different videos as well, but we want to be a resource, for you guys, and we want to be able to help in any way that we can. Anything else, or you think we've covered
I think we've covered everything. We've covered a lot. So thank you so much, Cody, for inviting me to talk. And I truly think what you're doing is amazing. I had that one gal who I referred to, and she just absolutely loves what your company is all about. So I think that speaks volumes to, like, you guys meeting all of your clients where they're at and really providing them like truly tailored exercise programs, and not just cookie cutter. We're and kind of thinking about personalities. Does this personality go well with this one? And making sure it's a really good experience. So I think what you're doing is awesome, and thank you so much again for having me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's a great point. Yeah, that's one. I think we've continued to grow the relationship together. And to the point to where she the lady that you sent over, like it's been really well. Now she's roped her husband in for
Oh,
training as
good.
well.
Yay!
So yeah, so it's super, super awesome. Well, cool. Well, yeah, I mean,
Wonderful.
thank you again for your time. We'll do
Yeah.
some more of these things,
Sure.
and yeah, just have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. You too. Awesome.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.